In this video, we're going to talk about the buttons and the text drop-down menus. And the first one I want to tell you about is the Restore Original. And this is for when you've cropped your image, as I've done here. You can click Restore Original and it'll take it back to the original photograph. This button here, New Project, it will erase the old project that's in the window and give you a blank project to start with. So that's a good one. And then Open Project. Open Project allows you to choose a saved file, a saved pattern you've been working on, and it will load it. Let me raise this up. You can see the whole object, Open Project window. You select a file that you've been working on that you've saved and clicked Open, and it will remember photo detail, it will remember how it was cropped, it will remember the fabric quantity, and even the color effect, I believe. I'm not sure about that one exactly, but I believe so, and give you exactly where you left off with that project. So that's Open Project, and Save Project works with that. You click Save Project, and it will save it as you are working on it if you have created a file name already. If you have not created or saved that file previously, my suggestion is to come up to the File menu and click Save As so that you can give it a name. So we've talked about New, which is identical to New Project here. We've talked about Open, which is the same as Open Project here with this button, and Save Project will save if you've already saved it, but you should use Save As if you've never saved it before. Okay, so let's move on over to the Print button. If after you've moved the photo pixel editor, selected your color effects, selected the palette to remove some colors or fabrics if you like. Once you've done those things, and if you're used all the rest of these, I'm going to continue on and teach you about all these other buttons, but once you are done with those, then you can click Print. In this Print menu, gives you a lot more options. First of all, it has the scaling, and that determines the size of the quilt. So first of all, after you've selected photo detail, that tells you how many pixels across, but then when you select the size of unit, how many pixels across by how big those units are will determine how big your piece is. So right now I had 52 squares across, and if they were 1 inch each, then that would make it 52 inches across the top. And that in this picture it says 64 inches down. But I can change the size of that very simply by changing this unit size, and I can make any unit size I want. So if I do 0.5, you can see the number of sheets goes down, as well as the finished design size. I can use sheets, whether I want to do the range, whether I want to do all the sheets, or if maybe I had a paper jam on my printer and I'm missing page number 6, then I could just print number 6. And these buttons here are whether you want it, what order you want it to print in, rows and columns or columns and rows. It really doesn't matter. I never bother with this, but you might have a reason to use that when you are working. So this orientation has to do with which direction the page is turned, whether it's the long way like on a normal sheet of paper, if you want it landscape, which is where it's wider and shorter, just like this rectangle turns sideways. The number of copies is if you want the pattern 5 times, then you would click on 5 times. Here I suggest if you're doing more than 1 copy, select collate, or you're going to have to collate them later. And then you can choose your size of paper, and that will depend on the printer you are using. And these are little special ones here. Fill pattern cell. So if you want to print directly onto the fabric, and that works whether you have selected realistic color, grayscale, or Fabric Now fabric collections, it will fill in the cell directly with that color or fabric or whatever you have chosen, and that shows you right there. And that's also relevant to the printing to the conserving paper. You see, I've given you options. You know, you can get a little bit better quality if you don't click this, and this is for the fill pattern cell. It'll be clear, but if you click this to conserve paper, it will be a little bit more jagged, and it may not matter to you, or it may be a look that you're looking for. Can't tell too much here. It'll be a little bit more jagged, but it will fill up the pages completely, therefore saving paper or fabric, which it could make a big difference. Let me show you that again. So right now, under conserve paper with 1/2 inch, it says 16 sheets of paper, 26 by 32. Let's see what happens when I uncheck this one. It doesn't really matter too much on that one. Let me see. Okay, so if I moved it up to 0.7, and it says 25, but if I wanted to conserve paper, it doesn't really matter that much on this particular pattern. Let's give it another try using the Fabric Now fabric collection. And I'll select print and conserve paper. On conserve paper with 0.9, it says 36 sheets. But I unchecked the conserve paper and it went to 42. So it does matter. It just depends on if you plan on printing on fabric or not in the exact size you're looking for. Sometimes it makes a big difference. So double check. If it gives you a better quality and you can use a smaller number of pages, you know, try that out. That's what it's good for. And again, you can just go directly to print, or you can preview. You can preview before you begin printing, and I'm going to show you a couple examples of what the pattern will look like. So right now it is filling in the cell with the fabric, and again, this will print right onto the fabric. If you want to make a quilt and give it away very quickly, it's very impressive. It's not, no one will know how you did it, but it can print directly on the fabric, all those different fabrics, as if you place them one by one. So you just sew the sheets together, and that's awesome. So I'm going to go back again, but if you don't want to print on fabric and you just want to print the paper pattern, you would undo these two, and then you'll be able to see here that the pattern is then filled in with the numbers corresponding with the fabrics you will be using for your project. So here we go. The pattern is filled in with those numbers. Alright, let's move on to the import photo. For import photo, you would come to look for an image. I like JPEG I like JPEG the best because it gives you good quality image, and the image size is fairly small, easy for your computer to work with, but it'll also accept PNG, bitmap files. Any of those three will work. So I'm going to just choose anything, choose what you want, and then it shows up. It's not a very good picture, but anything you choose will show up there. You can crop, do whatever you want, and then click process image. Right now it's working with the Fabric Now fabric collection. That's not optimal, so I'll just continue on and click it again in just a moment to see how it changes, to try to select those realistic colors to look just like that image. So we've imported a photo. Now to adjust colors. This is if you have a picture that's not quite right and you want to make a few adjustments. So if you want to make it brighter, you can make it darker. And you can also change the contrast. This will not change a bad photo, but if you have a photograph that's good and it needs some minor adjustments, this is where you do it, and adjust colors. So we've been using process image for almost everything, and process image is where you make any changes anywhere. After you make any changes, then you click process image. That will activate any selections you've made. And we're almost done here. So print palette. This is a great choice too, a great option too. And you'll see it has the palette, the color palette. It's the realistic color palette. It would be grayscale if you had selected grayscale, or it would be the fabrics if you had selected Fabric Now fabric collections. And you can either print this out as a reference to match your fabrics if you like. If you're going to make a realistic pattern and you want to use these realistic colors, then you would print the entire palette so that you can match up those colors. That's a really great way to use it. Or again, I mentioned printing on fabric. Well, you can print out these colors or the Fabric Now fabric collections as pieces of fabric that you can cut up and make just as if you bought yardage, but you just print as much as you need. Let me print. I'm going to select one and then print selected fabric, and your print setup will show up. And look at that. I have that exact color. I could print it directly on fabric, and that means I don't have to go shopping for it. So that's a great option if you want to do print out your Fabric Now fabric collections, or print out these solid colors and all of these shades. You just print it directly on your fabric. Look for my other videos that show you Fabric Now, and it'll give you more ideas on how you could prepare your fabric for printing directly on the fabric. That's an exciting new change that I love about my new line of software. And the last button is Video Help. And for Video Help, I don't have it showing up here, but it'll be all these videos that I'm making right now ready for you to watch, and you just click on the Video Help button. Another way to get to it is this Help drop down here, and you can select Video Help from there as well. The last drop down I have to show you is that this gives you my contact information, and it tells you what software we're using. I'm demoing on Quilted Photo Deluxe, but that's what that is. And also this view drop down palette, it will change based on which software you are using, but you can jump right to valuations or Fabric Now fabric collections to make those choices, or upload new fabric collections right from that drop down menu. Well, that is all the buttons and all the drop down menus. I'll see you in the next video.